What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Well, in this episode we're going to walk through my Unlimited MAX from Nucanoe and how I have it set up. Alright guys, this may look like a broken record, but I have this set up basically the same way as I do on my Nucanoe Unlimited. I only did a few little modifications and not that much, but we're going to start from the front here, and of course we have the gear pod, and I got the Yak Power strip lights mounted on both sides of the gear pod itself. This way I could just take this whole thing off and put out another kayak just like I did with the Unlimited and moved it back, or actually over to this kayak. But inside I keep my spare Torpedo battery, I have dude wipes, I got a Nucanoe battery that powers these Yak Power lights. No switch, directly wired. I keep it as simple as possible because when you throw switches into the mix down the line, it's just another fail point. And that Nucanoe 20 amp hour battery also runs my Lowrance graph at the same time. So when I'm on the water, all I do is I just unplug the lights separately and they just shut off. It's easy just to reach over and unplug them, and that's it. I also keep a spare prop in here. I keep some tie wraps, I keep bug spray, I keep a first aid kit, I keep sunscreen, tie wraps, tools to do repairs on the water. I got a rope, a strap, all that goody stuff that you need when you're out on the water, and I got it all jammed in here nice and tight, and it fits. As I come back, I have the slotted crossbar from Boondocks with the flat riser kit, and that mounts right onto the track with stainless steel hardware. I have track pack mounted on top of the slotted crossbar from Boondocks, and I also have one mounted over there. And that carries my terminal tackle and also some hard baits for the day that I'm using. I also have a cup on here, and I also have a quick mount Yak Attack. And what I do is I put on top of that almost like I use the roto grip, and that's how I usually rest my net, you know, on top of a riser from Yak Attack. That's how I rest my net when I'm doing a tournament only. I do not run a net all year round. It's only for tournaments when I don't want to lose the fish. Every other time I don't lose the fish, but you know, when you're in a tournament, that's when you lose the fish. So I do carry a net then. I just don't have it on here, but it's always ready to set up, and I got my net in the trailer. I have the Lowrance Eagle 9 on here, not with live scope. I have a separate review and like walkthrough on this particular graph, just strictly side scan and, you know, down scan and charts. But I did go back instead of using the Retrax mount, because the spring itself on the Retrax mount, they're talking about redoing it. They have an upgrade kit. I don't know if it's a newer spring than the one I had, but I got tired of this thing with all the sand you can see on my deck already. It was just kind of binding up. So I got rid of the Retrax system from all the previous stuff I've done with the Unlimited, and I just went back to the Switchblade from Yak Attack. When I'm in the water, I just lower it down and I have my side scan and everything else. Very simple, just mounts right on this track up here in the front and goes and connects to my graph. Coming down the line, of course I have a kayak cushion still behind the seat. I carry my primary Torpedo battery, and that goes back to my Torpedo. And the only other alteration I did on this kayak from the Unlimited is I got rid of the short stack. So all I do is keep my Nucanoe battery in here, my tackle that I'm using for the day, like as far as soft plastics, and because now I have the stern pod back here where my camera gear goes. I do not have the camera gear in here right now, and this is where I carry my coffee, but with the stern pod, I have this whole other box that's watertight, waterproof. I can keep spare clothes in there and everything else, so I don't need the short stack on top of the black pack anymore, so it kind of keeps it lowered down, so when I spin my seat around, I can reach over the top of the black pack a lot easier and get to the stern pod on the Nucanoe. Still running 6 rod holders on the black pack. This is a 13 by 16. Obviously, I can fit a 16 by 16 because I still got plenty of room here, but this is the one I had. That's all I need. I don't need to go bigger. When this thing, you know, fails on me or I break it or whatever, it gets stolen, etc., then I'll go to a 16 by 16 because why not, right? I got the room for it. Behind the seat, I also have the Boondocks landing gear. Once again, this is a transfer from my Unlimited. And what I did on my Unlimited, because it's a little cheaper setup, is I did the sidekick on my old Unlimited and I put the Boondocks on the Unlimited MAX because I like these wheels better. The sidekick themselves, I can show you here real quick, guys, has air in the tires. You know, the Boondocks are just solid wheels, but here's the sidekick on my Unlimited, and these tires take air. It's got a hexagon set up inside. I'm not a big fan of these per se, just like use all the time, but they slide in, and when you're on the water you can put pins up when you store them or whatever. You know, you can put them in here, turn these things sideways, and then you can lock the pin in there and it's in the right spot. So it's just an extra step, and you got to kind of wiggle these to get them in. But for the Nucanoe, being the Unlimited, being I'm running this lighter, I really don't need to have such heavy duty wheels. I got these at a good rate, you know, came with the kit, you know, with the plate and everything I needed for this and the sidekick. So this will be good for the Unlimited since I'm running this lighter, and it's going to be for my son. So I just transferred the Boondocks because these have no air in the tires, and I also have the sand tire kit for this, so it just works out well. And they're a little bit heavier duty in my opinion for the weight capacity on these, and also I just like them because when I store these, if I go out in the water and I want to take them with me, simply slide it out, slide it in, and that's it. There's no pins to hold it in, all that stuff, they don't fall out. So I just transferred that over so you can see it's all faded. And I like the groovy landing gear because you can see, unlike the sidekick, I got a slotted track the whole way, which I use to tie on my black pack to my landing gear from Boondocks. So I like the groovy landing gear, and with that slotted track, when I need to, I have a previous video on this and how I did the anchor. I mount my anchor wizard right here, and then I run back. And what I did on the Unlimited is I made a little piece of HDPE board, you know, you're basically your cutting board, and I have my anchor, you know, the anchor wizard itself coming straight off the back, so it clears the prop on the motor. And I just haven't put it on this one because lately I haven't been running the anchors, but I do have that being it's on the track, mounted on the track. It's simply a couple thumb screws to mount the anchor wizard on the track, and I also set up this plate in the back to just be thumb screws so I can put the anchor on and off when I need it. It's very rare that I use the anchor anymore, so I stopped putting it on here because it's just extra way I carry around and haul around. So why use it, you know, why keep it on here if I don't use it? One thing with the Boondocks landing gear, with this plate here, which is set up for the Unlimited, and the Max is a little bit different. You can see in there, hopefully, I have a bunch of stainless steel washers. I think it took me about I think 8 of them to make up this difference, because this plate doesn't come all the way down to this bottom track because it is different over the Unlimited. I'm not sure if they have this out yet, but I'm sure if they don't, they're working on it. They probably do have it, just haven't been on their website. But Nucanoe will probably make a new, you know, adapter for their landing gear and their sidekicks for the Unlimited Max to come down and make it to the bottom track. But I'm fine with just putting spacers in there, guys. You know, with some washers. You could use some, you know, 1/2 inch. It's about 3/8 to about 1/2 inch. You could use some 1/2 inch, you know, board again, cut a strip, drill some holes to bring your slotted bolts through it, and do it that way too, and not, you know, have, you can see I got a little bit of a gap between that washer and that washer to fill in that void. But really, it doesn't make a difference because you're only connecting at two spots there. So I just use some washers to make up that difference right now, instead of buying, you know, another plate and waste the money. You know, the washers cost me 10 bucks. You know, the you know, new set of plates here would cost me probably 100 bucks, even though it's starting to get all beat up and chipped and everything from the salt water. But I just relocated from the Unlimited. Don't need to spend the extra money on that stuff when I could spend it on other things that I may need by just altering that Boondocks landing gear. The new EPS foot steering from Nucanoe, now you can see they don't mount the pulley system from themselves right on the plastic here because it's not really rated for such heavy motors. Now the NK180 Pro, that would work fine, but now they sell the kit like you need for the tandem setup like I got, and it mounts on the track for the pulley system. But I like doing the pulley system the way I have it, with stainless steel hardware and really mounted right onto this track here, so I can really rip on the motor when I want to pull it up. And it's super simple if there's no pliers in the way. But I pull this up and put it in the cleat. It's kind of hard doing it one-handed, and it pulls the motor up. Obviously it's not all the way up right now, but it just retracts, you know, pulls up really easy. And the reason why it pulls up easy, guys, is when you buy a motor kit from somebody, a lot of times they give you cheap pulleys. You know, you can get the same pulleys that come in a lot of these kits are just from Amazon, and they're just cheap and expensive pulleys, and they're not really that smooth. But I did upgrade to the Harken, Harken. I think these are the 22 millimeter. This company's made for like sailing products, you know, for sailboats. This Harken pulley, I got one here and I got one up here. Makes this, pulling this motor up effortlessly. I think these two pulleys cost me, I think $40 or $50 for these two pulleys. But I can tell you right now, they are worth every penny. They are so smooth, and it makes pulling this motor up super, super easy. I don't need a bunch of guides here, and it just comes out of this cleat here, and I drop it down. I got this cleat here from Amazon as well. It's a stainless steel heavy duty cleat mounted right to the track, and I just use a D-ring, and I use the track bolts, and I use nylon 1/4 inch nuts to mount that right to the track instead of using the one from Nucanoe where they have now, which mounts to the track itself. But still, this is a lot more heavy duty, and it's going to last long term, because when I'm doing saltwater fishing, I'm pulling this motor up and dropping it a lot because of oyster beds and everything else. So I use this pulley system quite often when I'm on the water, especially in saltwater. I just transferred my kayak cushion. You can still see it says RJM Fishtails. That's what I originally was known as, but I changed my name to RJM Adventures because I'm doing everything more than just kayaking. I'm also doing construction too as well, and tractor reviews and everything else. So I figured I'd just change the name, but just move the kayak cushion over, and you know, who cares? My ass is on that thing most of the time, so you don't even see it anyway. In the back here, we have the Visipole from Yak Attack. Obviously, I changed out the flag to from the orange one to American flag, and I got my Yak Attack boomstick for my action camera that sits on top. That is it, guys. You can't get, in my opinion, you can't get any more simpler than the way I have it set up, and I believe simple works and doesn't fail when you get elaborate. That's why I don't do switches for my power. I don't do those fancy Bluetooth switches and all that stuff. Even though I'm an electrician, it'll be easy for me to wire in. I think simple is key, and it works. I'm on the water, I unplug my lights when I'm done with them, and when I'm done for the day, I just unplug that Nucanoe battery. You know, and same thing back here for my power. Having a little 10 amp hour in here that runs my camera and charges my phone off the USB port I have here on the side. All I gotta do is unplug it, guys. So I keep it as simple as possible, and I love having the stern pod now, because now I could, you know, eliminate such a large, you know, at least eliminate the short stack on top of this and make it a little bit lower so it doesn't stick up so high. I don't need it with that stern pod. So you have like basically like 2 black packs with you now. And really, if you really wanted to go simpler, you could just run the stern pod. Don't run this. You could mount some rod holders right to your groovy landing gear, you know, the ones that, like from Yak Attack, to stick up, and you can set them back on an angle, and you don't have to run this. You can just throw everything in that stern pod and leave your rods right here, or you could use the built-in rod storage, you know, protection tip thingy holders that you have on the Unlimited Max now. So I just believe simple is key, and it works. It's pretty much the same thing that I had on my Unlimited. I just went back to the switchblade from Yak Attack, got rid of the retract transducer, retract system thingy from Nucanoe for my transducer. I heard that they may be redoing that. If they get really good with it and heavy duty, and that spring holds up under the salt water and doesn't rust out and get stuck and like sticky, I may go back to the retract system. But for now, the switchblade works just fine. And I just had to modify the Boondocks landing gear because I'm using the old adapter plate for the 2 upper and lower tracks. So that's it, guys. Very simple. It's still quite a bit on the kayak, but not overly done. It's just the bare necessities that I need for going out to go fishing, fish a tournament, and do filming for you guys without having all the extra pieces and parts in my way. You know, I try to keep these sides clear here so I can just, you know, bring a big redfish over the side. You know, if I'm using, when I'm saltwater fishing, I'm only running one of these anyway, so I run the track pack up top, and I like leaving my sides open so I can really pull that bigger 30 plus inch, 40 inch, 50 inch red over the side and have plenty of room on my deck. So we have all this room now on the Max, and this thing is super stable. I got a speed test out there on this, guys. I have some other walkthroughs, a full comparison between the Unlimited and this, so you can go check out those videos. I'll leave them at the end of this one, and I hope this helps you guys lay out your Unlimited Max for yourself. That's it, guys. Got any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll get back with you guys, and as always, be safe on the water. I'll catch you in the water, or see you here from Race Acres. See you guys soon.